know the plan.
I saw Tenet today, and I don't know what to think yet, but I do know a few things, and I'll explain those now. This is the first big movie to come out. I was lucky enough to get invited to a press screening in Chicago at the Music Box. There was like 10 people in the theater. This is a really tough movie to review, even give first impressions on, which this video is just first impressions. And it's tough to do that because seeing a movie in theaters for the first time in a while, being someone who enjoys going to the movie so much and does it a lot normally, this being a new experience in that sense, a return to something in that sense, and also a Christopher Nolan movie, those three factors added up to something where the movie was good enough that I enjoyed it a lot more than I think I would have if, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the movie schedules hadn't been halted, meaning coronavirus had not taken over in the way that it did. So the film opens in this opera house setting, which contextually with like COVID, it's this horrific setting, but in the film, obviously, that intention isn't there. That's just something we know as audience members sitting in a not crowded theater watching all these people maskless in that theater. Just a fun little note, but it's definitely a duality in that sense, but also one that morphs into more conceivable ones throughout the film, and especially ones with time. And then we see this nameless CIA agent who we know is John David Washington, but in the film is referred to as the protagonist, not only in the cast list, but in dialogue as well. He can find a way to, or is trying to find a way to stop Tenet, this reversal time, I guess, bioweapon, super weapon. It can take over and destroy the world. And explaining why that is just one of the many battles this movie tries to take on. It's interesting in parts, it's engaging in its action, it's noisy in its action, but it's also noisy in its dialogue in that it all muffles together into something that is not all that interesting, I think because of a lack of a very human core to the story. And I think John David Washington's name character being the protagonist is just, it's so odd. Somebody that I was already failing to see a motivation in, given such a ironic name for name's sake, I guess. It's just strange. The selling point of Tenet has been, or is seen to be, the reversal of time, and in the action scenes it pays off so well. I almost compared, when I wrote in my notes, my press notes, I compared the action, the feel of it, the weight of this sort of reversal effect to an exponential graph, in that it increases in that sense. And I just thought that was a really interesting thing to not only point out, but to feel in the way that obviously this is a unique concept, but to see it play out in a way that you think this is how Christopher Nolan envisioned this concept coming to fruition on screen for the viewer. And I think in that sense, it paid off. Where it struggles, and where it struggles hard, is the movie constantly trying to explain it to you in scenes that eventually kind of just pay off as exposition dumps. And they're as noisy as the action scenes, but not in the good way, in the way that it all muffles together and becomes something where my mind starts to drift, especially when the title character's name is the protagonist. And when I'm lacking that emotion and I'm lacking that grasping sort of a sense to what's going on, when I'm lacking those two things, it's really hard for me to be fully invested. And I think that's what Christopher Nolan movies are about at the core. I didn't feel anything at the end of this movie in terms of being left with an overarching theme. It's really, and I stress this, the motif of time, because I think that's really what it is. It is just so reoccurring, and it's a plot element for sure, but it is treated with so much finesse and style in its visual sense. But like I said, where it struggles is with that emotional connection and any sort of attachment to the story other than being for the sake of effect. And drawing comparisons to Inception wasn't honestly something that I did walking into the movie, but it's something that I definitely did sitting in the movie. Part of it being the pumping score re-emphasizing what you're seeing in terms of the intensity of it. And I think that works to the film's favor, as it usually does with all other of Chris Nolan's epics. But with Inception, the emotion and the quote-unquote gimmick of the dream sense of the movie, it felt inherent to the story. It felt new in that sense that this gimmick was explained to us in the beginning a little bit, and then it became about the characters in the story and sort of trying to solve this mystery in that it disrupts. We're explained as to what it is, and it disrupts in a way that we don't expect, sort of in a way like Eternal Sunshine. In Tenet, I missed that. Whatever the disruption was, I felt it coming. I saw it coming. It didn't surprise me in any way. And that emotional core that the film eventually tries to strike, it just missed me. It missed me. And that's the thing. It missed me now. It missed me on this watch. It missed me today, the first day that I saw it. And I don't know what I'm going to think tomorrow, the next day. This is a Christopher Nolan movie. But yeah, John David Washington as the protagonist was great. I think he really did he did a suitable job for the role. Nothing really stood out to me too much about it. Same with Robert Pattinson's character. The wit they provide to the movie is entertaining. I don't really think it services much beyond breathing more air out of my nose than I occasionally do. Like that's the extent as to which it went for me. But I thought they both did a really good job for sure. I had no issues with that. What I did have an issue with was the sound mixing in this movie with the dialogue. And I've had issues with this with Christopher Nolan movies before. It's a detriment in this movie. And I say that because of these exposition dump scenes that I mentioned, where it's like, if I can't understand what these people are saying and all they're doing is talking, my mind just goes elsewhere. And that just being taken out of the movie for a technical error is disappointing, especially with a Christopher Nolan movie. Thank you for listening to my first thoughts, reviews, impressions thing, whatever you want to call it. I am interviewing John David Washington in the next week, waiting on Warner Brothers to schedule that. But yeah, subscribe so you can listen to that. I will also be writing a piece on it. So yeah, looking to get that out there. Thank you.